Okay, let's get started. It's my third session here, and it's going to be the last one for Introduction to PLO. We call it Stop Punting in PLO. It's very introductory. And for this one, we're going to introduce the GTO in PLO. It's going to be a very soft lecture because GTO is too complicated. So we're mostly introducing basic concepts, how to study it. And yeah, we'll spend a little bit of time on these, and then we'll move on to actually one flop, one example of GTO, what does it look like, and how to study it. So let's get started. So to start with, what are the GTO providers? Obviously, we don't have GTO. We have to get a provider. There are some providers. The first one is GTO Wizard. If you're playing Hold'em, you're probably familiar with it already. The vendor provides Hold'em solution. It's one of the dominating vendor, and it's GTO that's in beta test. I believe it's gonna release very soon, and it's also gonna be the one we're gonna peel a little bit today. The second one is PLO Mastermind. It's providing a lot of solutions in kind of a medium to low accuracy, but it's fairly enough for studying. If you register, they get a free 100 big blind pre-flop, but no post-flop. I believe GTO Wizard is going to give a free post-flop per day once it releases. We have a cheaper variant, which is called Vision. It's less accurate. It lacks both PLO Mastermind and Vision lack a lot of flop textures and turns, but they're useful as well. And Vision is cheaper. There's also a book that I do recommend. It's called Mastering Small Stakes PLO. It's by Fernando Genendes. This guy is quite famous in the PLO community. The book looks green, so it's called the Green Book in PLO. It's different from the Green Book in Hold'em, which is outdated. Green Book in PLO is actually more than. So you do learn something from this Green Book. I think it's $20-something. You can get it from almost every bookstore. It's fairly useful as well. So we're gonna move on. We're just gonna talk a little bit of the studying paths. There are different textures. There are different runouts. We have what are the things that we'll need to study and cover. We can categorize board textures into 5 kinds. There are ace high, straight, paired, monotone, and others. Others being the most common, which is they're not either of these 4. There's one thing that stands out from Hold'em, which is ace high. Ace high is very special in PLO because ace, the card ace, is very special in PLO pre-flop. Aces is so strong pre-flop that all of these aces are happy to get in. So when there are 3-bet, 4-bet, or just simply being the pre-flop aggressor, there are more ace than the pre-flop defender. So ace high is very special. Obviously, there are also aces that hits a top set. Otherwise, it's pretty much the same categories as Hold'em. So we're just gonna give some very quick examples. Others being the most common. Sometimes it's also called normal or whatever, just common. We can study dry flop and wet flop. Queen 7-3 as dry, Jack 10-6 as wet. By the way, Queen 7-3, it's going to be the example we're going to peel today. As long as we study these 2 flops, we're pretty much getting a lot of heuristics for these other category. We have to study a lot of runouts. Well, this is a major difference between PLO study and Hold'em study. That in PLO, basically every runout is different. Because we have 4 cards, almost all the backdoor, almost all the backdoor main hand are possible. Backdoor straights, backdoor flush, backdoor whatsoever. It's different from Hold'em that in Hold'em a lot of lines, the backdoors just are not going to be there. or they're not going to be there in many streets. For example, 7-9 sometimes is just not in the range, or 7-4 is just not in the range, but in PLO they're all possible. So all the runout matters. So there are actually, well, we can see on the slides there are 12 different runouts. B means blank, P means paired, S means straight, and F means flush. So it's blank, blank, blank pair, blank straight, blank flush, pair blank, pair flush, and pair trips, straight blank, straight pair, straight straight, and straight flush. So all these runouts are gonna matter. This is the difference. So what I would suggest is, like, once we have the solver, we're gonna peel into all of those runouts and just get some heuristics about, at least, well, the minimum we should learn is what are the valued and showdown thresholds. Like, what are the hands that are clearly valued, and what are the hands that have a level of showdown value that we don't want to turn into bluff. So another example is Jack 10-6. You can see there are even more runouts, in this case 16 runouts. Well, actually 15, because the first one is non-existence. We have a blank blank, which doesn't exist in wet flop. This is why we call it wet. It's impossible to have blank blank. But we have blank pair, blank straight, blank flush. Then pair blank, pair pair, pair flush, pair straight, pair trips, so on and so forth. I'm not going to read all of them. Feel free to take these as the path of study. Once we take a look into all of those runouts, just by the peel, like even by the simple peel, we're gonna get a lot of idea about what are the thresholds, what are the general ideas of playing. Sorry, actually 16, like excluding the blank blank, actually 16. I'm just gonna quickly go through other types of boards. Ace high, we have ace Broadway, ace wheel, and ace others. Ace Broadway means it's ace high, but a Broadway straight is possible. Ace wheel means it's ace high, but a wheel straight is possible. Here, 53 is the nuts at the moment. Ace others means there's no straight being possible. It's just ace high. Straight board, we have heavy straight, which is king, queen, jack. Heavy means it's like it's oriented to the Broadway part. A light means it's oriented to the low part, not necessarily wheel, but low part. So king, queen, jack as the heavy representative. 7-5-4, that's the light representative. We have to study two-tone and rainbow. This is different from ace high, that two-tone matters a lot. So these are the four flops that we wanted to study that mostly represents the straight texture. And paired board, well, this is very, very difficult. Paired board is one of the most difficult texture in PLO. It's actually categorized very detailedly into high pair, low kicker, low pair, high kicker, ace pair, and trips. So all these are very different. And I could see a lot of people like actually losing money in paired board. I can just take an example, like for example this one, the third one, 5-5-10, two-tone. What will be the value threshold? For example, it's just bottom big blind facing a c-bet. What is the threshold of check raise? What do you think is clear value for check raise? Given this 5-5-10. You said ace-5? Any other idea?
Ace-X, ace diamonds, another suited diamond.
Ace diamond? Yeah. Ace diamond? Okay, any other idea? Well, it's like, let's say it's 100 big blind, so it's quite counterintuitive. Like your value hand is basically tens. So other things are, well, 5-10 sometimes. 5-10s is also strong enough to check raise, but with a frequency. Ace-5 is quite mergy at this moment. So like a lot of times we see people just hit a 5, get excited and check raise. Well, it's a blunder in GTO. That's why I say it's most difficult, because it's contradicting with people's intuition. It's not like Hold'em. In Hold'em, any trips are good, right? But PLO, basically only 10s and 5s are value. 5s having quads. Okay, this is paired and monotone, the last kind being the most simple texture. It's very easy to play. We just have to study ace high monotone and non-ace high monotone. Why is monotone easy? Do you get an intuition? Well, it's very obvious because in PLO you have to use 2 cards. There's no more flush draw in PLO. In Hold'em, like monotone, you can have 1 spade and it's a flush draw. But in PLO that doesn't happen. Like if you're ahead, you're mostly ahead throughout all the streets. The only thing you can beat you is a set and 2 pair that hits a bolt, or a pair that hits a backdoor bolt or backdoor quads, which is very less likely. Which means monotone flops are very easy. So those are the 5 kinds. And we wanted to study different spots. It's the same as Hold'em. We have to study single raise spots, button versus big blind, and cutoff versus button. Well, the difference as Hold'em is that there's no 3-bet or fold in PLO. So cutoff versus button single raise spot is actually very common. In Hold'em, many people just 3-bet or fold, so there's no cutoff open button call, but PLO, this has to be one of them. It's a fairly high calling frequency. And 3-bet pots, button versus big blind, cutoff versus button. One is in position 3-bet, one is out of position 3-bet. And we also have to study one multi-way spot, which is cutoff open, button calls, and big blind calls. It's going to be very different from Hold'em for the multi-way. It's not possible to dive into details, but it's impossible to use Hold'em heuristics into PLO. Multi-way, I mean. Heads up, it's possible. Lines, well, we're all familiar with those lines. Check, 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 bet, call, check, bet, raise, bet, call, bet, raise. So we are going to adjugate all of those lines. It's going to be others texture being the most common. And we study ace high, straight, paired, monotone, different spots and different lines. So that's a quick summary of all this GTO study introduction. And we have some heuristics that we're going to learn later using a specific flops. We're going to discuss all of them. So what we're going to study is one of the most simple runouts. We wanted to study dry flop, well, Queen 7-3 being one of the most dry flops that are unpaired. And we wanted to try the blank and straight runout. So blank means it's a 2 of hearts, which is the most blank turn, and then 5 of hearts, which is a straight runout for the river. And we wanted to study button big blind single raise spot, and we are the button in position player. We just barrel, barrel, and barrel. We wanted to study how this barrel, barrel, barrel works. It's also one of the easiest spots. We're in position where the aggressor, it's much easier than the defender, by the way. It's much easier than the out of position. So taking this most simple spot, line, and flop, we wanted to get some simple PLO and heuristics into PLO GTO. Any question before we move on?
Is this stuff relevant at all to PLO 5, or would PLO 5 be completely different?
Could you repeat what's PLO 5?
5 cards.
Yeah, that was the question.
Would this stuff carry over to PLO 5, like these concepts?
Mostly, I would say mostly, yeah. Yeah, when I get even more cards, it's a little bit different, but 5 and 4 are still similar. Yeah, it's just the hands are stronger in general. 6 cards, I would say it starts to be a little bit different. Okay, any other question before we start? Okay, we have some time. So this is GTO Wizard. It's the beta test. They're gonna close tomorrow actually. So and they're preparing for the formal release. So once they release, it's possible to buy it. Or I believe from what they said, they're gonna provide a 1 free proofs flop per day, similar to the Hold'em free subscription. So we can start PLO 500, which is a 5% rake up to 0.6 big blinds. They also have CEV, which is no rake. So we can have button open, big blind calls. Let me double check the suits. So it's a spade diamond club, spade diamond club. So it's queen 7-3, and then we confirm. We're gonna move on to the post flop. Okay, so to start with, you can see that big blind is gonna have a 16% probability of dunking. This is a dunk. And then when it's dunked to, button is gonna have 50% probability of c-bet. So this is similar to Hold'em, that the big blind is dunking to a certain frequency that tries to make the c-bet frequency half, if you know this heuristic. So, which is tough for studying. So what we wanted to do, because we're studying the imposition strategy, so what I would typically suggest is to remove this dunk. So there's no more dunk. We node lock to no dunk. So now big blind checks 100%. We force it to do that. And then take a look into the betting frequency. It's going to be 40%, so 10% less. So we wanted to study this 40% c-bet frequency. What are the hands that are c-betting? So before we look into those combos, by the way, there are, can you see the number? 42.1K combos. It's not like Hold'em, like it's impossible to scroll 42K combos. So don't do that, obviously. But we wanted to do, what we wanted to do is to start from the right-hand side filters. So it's going to categorize hands into set, two pair, draws, and air. I'm going to explain like how to use these filters. But we wanted to start with that. And we want to start with the best hands. So those hands are what, like the hands that we're making EV with. So starting from sets, you can see that sets have a really high betting frequency, 90%. So when something have a really, really high betting frequency or really, really high checking frequency, we wanted to learn the opposite. So what are the hands that are checking despite having a 90% overall c-betting frequency? So we can click the plus sign here, open. It's going to categorize sets into top set, middle set, and bottom set. So you see the very, very similar heuristic as Hold'em, that middle set and bottom sets are c-betting 100%, well, if not literally 100%. 99.4% and yeah, it doesn't matter, like it's just 100% for humans. So middle and bottom set are c-betting 100%. The reason is also the same. You wanted to value the queen, right? Like when the opponents have a queen, they can call you, they have the hand to pay you. So top set have a little bit of checking frequency. So now we can further click the top set, and it's going to show if a top set has a straight draw blocker, or no straight draw draw blockers. Well, straight draw means 4-5, 4-6, 5-6, which means queen 4-5, queen 5-6, queen 4-6. And straight draw blocker means a single 4-5-6, and other combination means there's no 4-5-6. So what kind of heuristics did you observe from these categories? Did you observe something?
If there's no straight draw or blocker, it wants to check a little bit more.
Okay, well, literally, it shows it. But any other observation? Well, if your observation is no observation, that's going to be correct. So it's this kind of small discrepancy means it doesn't matter. So our question is then, what matters? What makes your top set check? So, well, I know the heuristic, so I know what to filter. The answer is usually backdoor flush draw. So in this kind of rainbow texture, backdoor flush draw matters a lot. So what we can do is we can, here you have a small button, this is filter. We can filter top set, so now we are showing only all the top sets. And we can filter it out if we have a backdoor flush draw. So we can type backdoor flush draw 2. So this is the kind of combos that have two backdoor flush draws. So now we see a very high betting frequency. The betting frequency is 95.6. It's significantly improved, 10%, which means they're almost always betting. And we can also see backdoor flush draw 1, 94%. It's also high, right? So when we have we can conclude that when we have a backdoor flush draw or two backdoor flush draws, those are the hands, those are the top sets that we don't want to check and trap. So if we don't have a backdoor flush draw, to filter that we don't have a backdoor flush draw, we do not backdoor flush draw 1, not backdoor flush draw 2. So this is the filter to put in. Now, out of a sudden, the checking frequency is as high as 40%. So you can see that these kind of, on these textures specifically, the c-betting heuristic even for the most strong hand top set is very linear. You wanted to have additional backups to c-bet with a higher frequency. And then we can actually quickly have a scan through all these checking combos. You can see this queen, queen, 8-6, queen, queen, 8-5, queen, queen, 5-5, queen, queen, 10-10. So what did you observe from this kind of quick scan? Well, my heuristics is similar. I don't observe anything. So it's more like the Holden mixing, so just random number kind of stuff. It's not really additional heuristics. So we can conclude by this study that top sets wants to bet with a backdoor flush draw or even two backdoor flush draws, and it wants to check with a frequency here 40% of the time if we don't have any backdoor flush draw. It's also possible, especially for low stakes, where people are very passive, it's actually suggested to just bet all of them, by the way, because people are so passive. When you check, you don't expect nearly enough amount of money going into the pot because people are so passive. So we have done the study with set, right? So it's a very simple study for set. So now we can move on to the second category, two pair. So
is the idea that with weaker hands, like a weaker top set, you want to put in less money? That's why it's checking if it's a weaker hand?
Yeah, that's right.
It's just about less money, right? Because in Hold'em, it's kind of like you want protection. Maybe that's not as relevant.
Yeah, you're right. In PLO, protection is less relevant. It's still there, but it's most of the time linear, or I would say it's more often linear. So stronger bet, weaker check. Yeah, it's PLO. It's the PLO heuristic. So your idea is if you build a pot, you wanted to win that pot more often than not. That's I think in one of the previous sessions I was also explaining this, that checking in PLO is special because there's no overbet. So once you check, you are able to control the pot definitely. So checking is very powerful. This is why you are not that much worried about being capped in check, because if you check, it's always a small pot, and as long as your hand can handle the small pot, that's enough, right? So it's a different heuristic. Yeah, great question. Any other question? No? Okay, let's move on. So we are going to then study two pair. Two pairs are categorized into three types. Well, obviously, Queen 7, 7, 3, and Queen 3. So top two pair is going to be Queen 7. Two pair with top pair is going to be Queen 3. Well, in general, if there are 4 or 5 cards, it's going to be two pair with a queen, or with the card that is the highest. Another two pair here is just 7-3, or in other textures are two pair without a queen. Okay, so top two pair, you can see that it's betting in quite a high frequency. It's 85% of betting. It's betting in that high frequency, which also showing that this is the next type of value hands. It's actually betting for a value. You wanted to get a call and you wanted to build a pot. There are runouts that you like to have. There are runouts that you can win a big pot. Okay, so before we even look into this frequency, what are the top two pairs that have additional strength? This is always a question to ask. What are the top two pair that are stronger than other top two pair? Any idea? Ace. Ace and king, great. Ace and king. So if you have an ace and a king, you're drawing even bigger top two pair, right? You have an ace, you're drawing ace queen, the new top two pair. If you have a king, you're drawing new top two pair, king queen. And actually, Jack, 10, and 9, and 8 are also to some extent good because you're drawing top two pair, right? So think about if you only have queen 7, assume you only have 2 cards, which is impossible, but assume that. Any runouts makes your hand weaker, except the deuce. Think about if you only have queen 7. Any 8, 9, 10, Jack, king, queen, king, ace, makes you no longer top two pair. You hit a queen or hit a 7, that's good, obviously. Any 6, 5, 4 makes it a straight possible. Deuce is good as well, right? So you want additional things. So ace and king are good. Jack, 10, 9, well, to some extent, also good. What else? Well, the other thing that are good are additional straight draws. 6, 5, 6, 4, 4, 5. These are also good because you have additional equity. You have 4 additional outs that hits a straight. And any other things? Well, the one I just mentioned, backdoor flush draw, right? Backdoor flush draw matters. So, well, because I studied this spot before, I know the one that matters here is the backdoor flush draw. We can filter it out. Top two pair, which is queen 7. Well, it's already there. It's I didn't change that, which is no backdoor flush draw. You can see remember it's 85% of batting frequency. When there's no backdoor flush draw, your batting frequency is all of a sudden reduced to 55%, 30% reduction. You really want a backdoor flush draw to support your queen 7. And if you look into the batting hands, well, I didn't do like all those details, but usually those are with some supports. Either ace king or sometimes Jack 10 or a straight draw. So try to find hands that have supports. And you can see, let's say now we have a backdoor flush draw. We have one backdoor flush draw here. We're betting 96%. See? It's almost always batting. If you have one backdoor flush draw, we're betting 96%. If you have 2 backdoor flush draws, we're betting 100%. It's always batting. So additional support is going to matter. And on rainbow flops, backdoor flush draw are usually the support you're looking for. And there's especially one thing that usually backdoor flush draw is more important than straight draw and backdoor straight draw. Like, do you know why? Do you know why? Well, it's very simple, because flush is better than straight. It's a simple heuristic. You find the same heuristic in Hold'em as well. And you can see if we have a straight draw, same, we're betting 100%. So we have additional support, we bet almost 100%. We don't have additional support, we're looking for some sort of a weaker support. An ace, a king, or even a jack or 10 at least, right? So the higher the better. Or backdoor straight draw. Something special we wanted to know is aces. So if we have aces, we're actually batting. If we have kings, we're actually checking. You can see. I mean 2 pair. Okay, that's I was wrong. Kings are also batting. So that one I haven't figured out why, but it says some heuristics, like if we have both overpaired and top 2. Okay, so this is top 2 pair. The next one we wanted to study is 2 pair with top pair, which is queen 3. So, okay, so we have to clear the filter. Two pair with top pair. Well, this is exactly the same heuristics as Hold'em. So in Hold'em, you can, well, they're all good for c-bet, but when you look into check raise, in Hold'em, when you look into check raise, Queen 3 is the kind of hand that check raise the least. Do you remember? So it's the same thing. Queen 3, you don't want to be aggressive in PLO. It's the same. The reason is it's kind of not preferring a big pot. So Queen 3 could be very good at the moment. It beats a lot of hands, but its equity is dropping in the most significant way once it's getting called. So you're doing very great against the check-check range, but you're not doing great against the check-back call range. This is the reason that top and bottom is being least aggressive. So we have 8.4% of frequency of actually c-betting top and bottom Queen 3. What are them? Well, we have learned, right? Those are the best Queen 3, right? So it's actually very easy. Oops. Why do we have top set? It should be here. Yep. So we're c-betting only the best ones. For example, the Queen 3 with a straight draw and two backdoor flush draws. You can just scroll down. It's basically the ones that have backdoor flush draws and even additional equity such as straight draw and ace or king. And the last one, other two pair, which is 7-3, it's c-betting 31.7% of the time. So without taking a look into those, do you know why? Do you figure it out why this is c-betting? So Queen 3 is better than 7-3, but why 7-3 is c-betting? Well, the answer is very simple. It's kind of the there's no name, but we can intuitively understand as the wrapping idea. So on this texture, 7 and 3 are closer than Queen and 3, right? So 7 and 3 are clustered together. So when you have something that really have a mess on this area, on this cluster, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, on these kind of things, you are more inclined to bet. So when you have 3 and 7, well, it's impossible that you have 3, 7, Jack, King, this kind of garbage, right? But so when you have 3 and 7, you are most likely having something also 4, 5, 6. So this is an example that we have correlation but not causality. So 3, 7 is not the reason of your c-bet, but 3, 7 is correlated with your c-bet. You're not really wanted to c-bet bottom 2. But because you have 3, 7, you can have something crazy like 3, 5, 6, 7 that also have a gather. So we wanted to take a look into this. Well, I know this one. This one is actually very straightforward as well. It's also backdoor flush draw. You can see backdoor flush draw 1. Okay, I'm actually wrong on this. Backdoor flush draw 1 doesn't change much. What about 2? 2 is significantly increasing this, but 1 is not. So it's about 5 and 6, I guess. So let's say we have 4 or 5 or 6. Let's say we have a 4. It's going to be increased to 5.9. If I have a 5, 55%. If I have a 6, around 50%, 48%. So you are not c-betting just 3 and 7. You're c-betting something that clustered at 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, so this is bottom 2. Okay, I guess we're going through this a little bit slow, so I want it to be faster. So then for the study, I suggest doing the other 2 before the pair. Paired is the most difficult ones. So you can open draws and airs, and you can see one heuristic that is also different from Hold'em. So there is a category called pure air. This is like very pure, like completely garbage, like even backdoor flush draw is here. So it's like complete garbage. So you can see complete garbage have zero incentive to bet. You're not betting complete garbage. This is different from Hold'em, like range bet or something. Betting every garbage? No, that's not the case. PLO, it's always polarized. We just wanted to bet polarized, which is the best hand, and also it's not the worst air, but something that can be polar either now or in the future that are good for the bluffs. It's not pure air. So this flop is a little bit special because those are actually not the pure bluff in our mind. The pure bluffs is actually here. The middle pair is actually this one. So what are them? They're 4s, 5s, and 6s. Those are actually the so-called pure air bluffs. Like 4s, 5s, and 6s have no showdown value, but they're blocking future straight. Well, they're blocking straight draw at the moment and future straight in the future. So those are actually the pure air bluffs. So this is something I wanted to share, that when we say polarized, the bottom of the polar is actually something like a pair, premium blocker, or premium future blocker. Like we can see, okay, so let's filter this middle pair. So which means if we have 4s, 5s, and 6s, we only have 4s and 5s and 6s. So let's say 4s, yeah, you see a significant increase in betting frequency. We have 5s, increase, 6s, also increase, right? So these are the hands that we wanted to bluff with. And usually, when we choose bluff, it's also easier than hold'em, because here we have backdoor flush draw. Usually when we choose bluffs, we choose the ones that have some sort of backdoor flush draws. Okay, I guess we wanted to bet. Yeah, just go ahead. Yeah, there's a lot to research, but obviously it's a deuce of hearts. So we have deuce of hearts. We have to wrap up in a few minutes, so let's be quick. So you can see that big blind has a dunk range. This is blank, and big blind dunks 12% of the time. So this is special in PLO. In hold'em, big blind is going to check 100% of the time. But in PLO, it's possible they dunk the blank turn, which is very difficult to study. So let's remove this, actually. This is one of the very good feature that I like for Wizard. You can just remove this kind of dunk manually. So now you have a double barrel frequency of, in total, 50-something%. So in terms of betting volume, if you heard about that concept, it's around, like, if you just make it pot bet, it's around 50%, right? So in terms of betting volume. So we can conclude, because we're betting polarized on the flop, we can keep a high frequency double barrel. This is very important. In PLO, when you start betting, you wanted to keep a very high factor of aggression, which means you wanted to double barrel high frequency and triple barrel high frequency. And when you double barrel in PLO, usually the size is pot, which is the maximum. There are certain, like, alcoholic or unlimited version of PLO. You can see a lot of overbets. But pot limit, you can only bet pot. So you wanted to pot the bet in general. And same thing, we can study here, set. We're betting almost always with a high frequency. We're betting, only 6% of checking. And we can study what are those 6%. Do they matter? If they matter, we wanted to do those checks. If they don't matter, they're just frequency, we can just bet all of them. When we start studying, we can see two pair, top two pair, queen 7 keeps betting. Queen 3 and queen deuce, well, they bet only the best ones. Well, even if we don't click in, we know what are them, right? Queen 3 4 5, queen 3 4 6, queen 3 5 6, queen 3 deuce tricycle, so on and so forth. Other two pair they're betting now as kind of a mergey bet, but they're not much there anyway. One thing that I like to share is you can see bottom pair is betting a lot. Do you have this heuristic there? The reason is, if you all of a sudden you had air, but you hit a deuce. You're blocking your opponent's turn improvements, which means if you bluff, they're most likely to have what they had on the flop. So you have a higher chance of taking down the pot with this pot size bet. So it's bluffing more often. Well, there are more heuristics to study. But in general, these are the betting frequencies. Okay, any question before he heads to the river? Okay, so we pot. And big blind calls. River is a 5 of hearts. So the next heuristic is PLO. The way you build a pot and play the big pot is almost always centered around the nuts. So in Hold'em, when you see these kind of run nuts, you can say that, hey, this is a backdoor straight. Well, okay, this is one backdoor and one front door. So 6-4 is a front door straight, and 1-4, ace-4 is a backdoor straight. So you can say, hey, ace-4 is probably not there, blah, blah, blah. But in PLO, that's not the case. It's, they're always there. They're always centered around the nuts or the future nuts. So your plate is always centered around 6-4 and ace-4. So it changes all of the texture. So previously, your bets are centered at a 7 and a queen, right? Now, all of a sudden, your center shifts drastically to 6-4 and ace-4. So again, let's remove the donks, which makes our study easier. When the opponent donks, we have to bet more often, though. But as the introductory session, we wanted to center it around the simple case. So you can see we have a 30% betting frequency at the river. Because, well, the reason is in the previous two streets were centered on queen and 7, right? All of a sudden, they're no longer that strong. They're still strong, but no longer the hands that you wanted to put in all the chips. So your betting frequency is going to drastically go down. The other reason is also like we remove the donks. Because there's no donks, the big blind is actually quite strong. So to start with, your new nuts, both 6-4, the nut straight, and ace-4, the backdoor wheel straight, are betting 100% of the time. They're clearly the value hands. Sometimes I see very often that people have ace-4, and they are afraid of hitting into 6-4 and they're not betting. Well, this is more like a multi-way type of thinking. But in heads up, ace-4 is very good. So it's actually easy to study because when you open the filter set and 2-pair, you see it's all green almost. So those are the showdown hands. Set and 2-pair, they're no longer strong enough. They're no longer good for the third barrel. So there's a little bit of set betting. Without looking into them, what are the sets that are still betting? Trip queens? Trip queens is not good actually. It's blocking the queen, right? It's blocking your opponent's bluff catcher. So what is still betting as a set?
Trip 6s?
Trip 6s, it's not a set.
I'm sorry. I was just thinking the blockers.
Yeah, I mean, well,
So
you don't play trip 6s in the first place. So sets, I mean, here, if set is betting, it's called thin value, right? You're losing to straights, but you're still betting. But what are betting for sets? So it's very obvious, like if you have something like queen, queen, 4, 4. You have a set, but your opponent cannot beat you with a straight. Then you can bet. Well, it's still a thin value, by the way, even if you have 2 4s. So sets are betting only for the premium ones for thin value, and 2-pair are drastically checking. So those 2 pairs, you know it's the showdown regime. You no longer wanted to build an even bigger pot. And overpair, I think, yeah, 2-paired and overpaired, they are the showdown regime. Overpaired also the showdown. And the last heuristic is bluffs. What do you like to bluff with? Well, it's obvious, like you wanted to bluff 4s. Sometimes 6s, sometimes an ace and a 6, sometimes pair 4. So you're stacking those blockers. So you can see cards, you see 4 being the premium blocker, its betting frequency is high. Ace being the second best blockers, 6 being the third best blocker. So ace, 6 are also betting with frequencies as bluff blockers. So we can study those bluffs. But in general, overpairs is the showdown regime. Anything less than overpairs, you're thinking about turning one pair plus blockers into a bluff. So this is the last heuristics we're getting. So yeah, that's some examples of studying Queen 7-3. You can move on to the tournaments and have a nice day.
Thank you.